mostly, and as I have told, the HTML part will be only 20%. 80% will be the CSS, because there are so many, so there are very less tags that we work with in the HTML. Rather, most of the time the work is over the look and feel and the entire appearance of the web, whatever documents you are preparing. So mostly we will be working on CSS, and also I will be showing you various resources, free as well as paid, and professional resources. That means the professional website developers or web application developers use those resources. Okay, so I will be sharing those resources also, and also the test what I will be conducting with the help of Microsoft Teams. So in your quiz section, you will be having this Sunday or Saturday one quiz or test. Okay, and the marks will be considered when we finally will be announcing the result of the course. See, this is outcome based course. We will be measuring the outcome of this course, and you will benefit with the prizes also, as well as we will also consider this for your term work marks, as our college practices that you have get the over and above mark, but this will definitely carry the attendance, and the exercises timely submitted will definitely carry good marks. Okay, so today, what we are going to cover is the most important things. Now, these concepts are really, really important, and you must be attentive. Okay. So, firstly, we will consider what are CSS units. Okay. Then we will cover the most important concept, the most. Okay. The CSS box model. Okay. This concept is very, very essential to understand, and if you understand this concept very well, then only you will be able to lay out your web pages in a proper manner. Then then second thing, uh, we will cover the classes and IDs. That is, using the we have seen the element reference. We can access the element, HTML element in the CSS document with the element reference. But I have also told that there are other ways also. So these are the two ways and most frequently used. These are accessing the HTML element in the CSS document with the class reference, and accessing the HTML element in the CSS document using ID reference. So both of these are important, and using these only most of the time we will be working. Okay. So Namrata Narayankar, तुम्ही काय ह्यांना ऍड करून सुद्धा ह्यांनी गेस्ट जॉईन ओके. नम्रता नारायणकर, तुम्ही जॉईन झालात का आता? हा, जेव्हा केव्हा जॉईन होतील तुम्ही मला कॉन्टॅक्ट करा.
हा सर.
हा, तुम्ही कॉलेजमध्ये धनवे सरांना कॉन्टॅक्ट करा तुमचा जो काही इश्यू असेल मायक्रोसॉफ्ट टीमचा, कारण की दरवेळेला मी आय थिंक गेस्ट अलाउ करणार नाही. ओके, यू शुड बी मेंबर ऑफ द टीम. वॉट एव्हर इज युअर इश्यू, यू प्लीज कॉन्टॅक्ट धनवे सर. ओके.
हा सर.
Okay, fine. Okay, so continuing, so the HTML element will be accessed in the CSS document using either class reference and ID reference. Okay, so we'll learn these concepts today. Then later on we will be working with CSS layout introduction and div elements. Now this is again one of the important concept, how the div element are used for laying out various sections within your documents. Whatever the look and feel you get within your document is because of the layout that you have, which is achieved with the help of the div element. So we will be looking at that, and then we will have several properties: margin, padding, then display property, position property we will see later on, but today we will, if the time permits, we will see display property as well as float property. Okay, so now henceforth we will be going towards the ability to design a professional website, okay, or web application. So be attentive. Okay, really, really attentive. Fine. So let us begin. So now obviously I will not deliver in the order that I have given over here. Okay, so let us first understand what is div element. Now div element or div tag, which is represented by a div tag, closing and ending div tag, is defines a division or a section in an HTML document. See, for example, whenever you have any construction of any building or a house, what happens? the entire house, the outer walls. Okay, you don't just only build the outer walls, right? You build bedroom, you build hall, you build kitchen, you build, okay, several other rooms also. That means you divide the given layout of your house in the different rooms or sections. So this is the same job that you do with the help of div element on for the entire web page or entire document or entire screen, you can say. Okay, so this div element works uh, in such a manner that, or rather it is a container. Okay, it is acts as a container. So whatever tags we have learned up till now, those will be the content of this div tag. Okay, so div tag uh, decides the layout of the entire web document. Okay, so it acts as a container for other HTML elements. So all the elements that we have learned up till now will be the content within this opening and closing div tag. Okay, and then this div tag normally doesn't have any representation, visual representation. Okay, it is a blank. You can add the content as a different other tags, or you can add text also. Okay, but then mostly this div tag is styled and manipulated with the help of CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so most of the time we will be using this div tag very heavily. Then, so div tag is easily styled by using class and id attributes. So class reference or id reference in the CSS document. Okay, and any sort of content can be put inside the div tag. You can put anything inside the div tag. Any tag you can have as a member of the div tag or content of the div tag, right? So we will see what is div tag, okay, today itself. But this is what is just introduction. We will have some hands-on, okay, just after a few moments. First, let us understand what is units. So units, as all of us know, that the properties that we specify in the sorry, the property that we specify in the CSS rule, okay, this property, font size, color, they have certain values. Now every value has certain data types. For example, here the font size, you cannot specify anything. You have to give it a proper font size, and normally font size is represented with the help of rem, pixel, rem, m, okay, like that, right? So there are basically length properties that we normally we use. Okay, so this is length. 60 pixel is a length, 25 pixel is a length, okay, 50 pixel is a length, right? Similarly, we also give the colors. But here whatever we are discussing, mostly 80% of the time, the property values that you give to any particular CSS property are basically described in the form of a certain type of length. So CSS unit uh, allows us to give the length of these properties in several ways, and each and every one has its advantages and disadvantages. I will not be cover each and every length unit. I will be covering only those which I use normally or which professional developers use. There are others. If the time permits and you are interested, you can go through them, but they are rarely used. So it is not uh, advisable to know each and everything in the HTML CSS. It is very vast concepts as such, right? So length numbers, how the CSS have several different units for expressing the length. Many CSS property take length values such as width, margin, padding, font size. Okay, just like here. Okay, so this takes length values as a value of the properties, and this length is a number. Okay, length is a number obviously, and it is followed by a length unit. Okay, so normally you specify a length as a number, but that number must be followed by a certain unit, and this is what we are going to understand now. Okay, so that unit can be pixel, it can be rem, it can be m, it can be centimeter, meter, inches, like that. Okay, so there are several length units which are fixed and several length units which are relative. It is quite rare, hardly 1% or not 1% also, 0.5% possibility or point not 1 possibility where you give the fixed length or absolute length. Okay, normally we don't give absolute length, okay, unless and until we require them. The pixel px is the only length unit which normally we give or we frequently used, but rather centimeter, millimeter, inches, pt, pc, all these absolute length units we normally do not use, but for the sake of completeness I am just giving it. Okay, don't bother about this length. Only thing you have to bother about is pixel. Okay, whenever it is required you can use this cm, mm, inches. Okay, whenever it is required. See why I'm saying this, because absolute lengths are not normally nowadays are not used. In the historical time, in the previous times, the monitor size or the screen size used to be either 14 inches or 15 inches, right? There was no monitor size more beside this, but days have gone. Now the screen sizes for the mobile device also vary from each other. Also you have big television sets which are smart televisions. You can surf the internet using those televisions. So it is very difficult for the programmer to use the absolute length, right? So it has to be relative. Why relative? Because your screen size is changing all the time. Okay, the devices that the client is using has different varying screen sizes. So laying using the fixed length or absolute length is not advisable nowadays, right? But pixel px is the normal. If it is a very small value, 1 or 2 or 3 or 16, we normally use them. For specifying the font rather, we use them because font is displayed with the help of whatever the hardware graphics unit you have in your display device. So that pixel is the only thing that we use absolute. Rather we don't use any absolute unit other than pixel. Okay, for the modern website designs. Okay, you may use it cm, mm, inches when you are dealing with the large graphics, flex and banners, etc. This is also possible with the help of css and html, but normally that is not done. Okay, you use Corel Draw, PageMaker softwares like that, fine. But there are several applications where you use billboards. Okay, and you can display that billboard dynamically, which is a website. But let us not discuss that part. So you have to remember only this unit, which is that pixel. Okay, and this pixel is uh, it is given, it is 1/96th of the 1 inch. It is not the case. See, it depends upon what is the resolution. Okay, the more the resolution, the less is the size of the pixel, right? So okay. So next, now these are the relative length. So we have these many relative lengths, but out of them, M, X, CH, REM, VW, WH, VM, Vmax, and percentage. So those which I have marked in the red color are the only important one and are only you have to remember. If you forget rest of them, doesn't matter. But you should know them in the back of your mind that there are okay, there are certain uh, relative length unit we have. Okay, you can use them. So I will not discuss these units. I will be sharing this ppt. Uh, Today I will be sharing all the ppts in this teams. Okay, resource section. Okay, so those who are only the part of the team can all, access them. I will be sharing the pdf files for this all ppts that I have. So you can go through this from my ppt. I will not teach each and everything. So I will let us discuss only the important ones which we normally use. So the first is REM. REM means relative M. Okay. So this is the most, or rather, I personally use this REM unit, relative unit, quite often. Okay, because this has several advantages. Okay. So this is relative to the font size of the root element. Now, what is the root element? All of you know root element is of every document is HTML, right? HTML tag or HTML element is the root element. So if you specify the font size of the root element, font size property of the root element, then that font size property will be utilized as a base level, okay, or base size in the REM unit. So whatever you size you specify using REM, okay, it will be relative to the font size of the root element, that is HTML element or HTML tag. Okay, I will demonstrate this. You will come to know what I am talking. Okay, just remember that we are going to use REM most frequently. Then there are again now here VM and VH and VW. V stands for viewport. Viewport means the size of the displayable screen in your browser. तुमच्या ब्राउझरमध्ये जे काही व्हाईट कलरचा एरिया आहे ज्याच्यामध्ये वेब पेज डिस्प्ले होतं त्याची जी काही साईज असते त्याला व्ह्यूपोर्ट म्हणतात. ऍक्च्युअली एंटायर ब्राउझरची जी साईज आहे त्याला विंडो साईज म्हणतात. आणि त्या विंडो मधले फक्त जेवढा पार्ट व्हिजिबल आहे वेब पेजचा स्क्रीनवर जो नॉर्मली व्हाईट कलरचा असतो, ओके, मेन्यू वगैरे सगळ्या गोष्टी जर गेल्या टूल बार वगैरे, तर त्याच्या खालचा जो व्हाईट एरिया असतो किंवा तुमच्या मोबाईल स्क्रीन मधला सुद्धा जेवढा ब्राउझर मधला व्हाईट एरिया असतो त्याला आपण काय म्हणतो, व्ह्यूपोर्ट. ओके, सो द व्ह्यूपोर्ट इज द ऍक्च्युअल डिस्प्ले एरिया which is used by the body tag to display the content of the HTML document. I will repeat again. Viewport is the display area within your browser which is used by the body tag or body element to display the content of that particular web document or web page, right? So normally we use the VW means viewport width, okay, and VH means viewport height. So if you want to specify the height and width of a particular HTML element, okay, relative to the viewport width and viewport height, then you normally use this unit for those lengths. Okay, so it is one viewport, VW is equal to 1% of the width of the viewport. Okay, so if you give 100%, that means that particular element will cover the entire width of the viewport. And if you specify the viewport height as 100%, then it will cover the entire height of the viewport. So don't worry, I will be demonstrating this. You will understand when you see it. Okay, no issues. But just only understand what is the concept of viewport. Okay, I will be showing you again, once again. Right. And the last important length, relative length unit that we normally use is percentage. So this rem, VW, VH, and percentage, this is what I normally frequently use in my web design. Okay, so percentage is related to the parent element. Okay, so this percentage is very useful when you are designing with the div element. So if you are designing using layout, designing using div element, so normally percentages are quite often frequently used because they are relative to the parent. In relation with parent, what is the width, what is the height, in percentage you can use. Okay, so let us see what it is, okay, with the help of one example. Okay, so I will give you demonstration of these concepts. So let us open, no, not do, you don't open, I will open, you just listen, because I will be sharing this video, you can practice later on. Okay, just listen and pay attention, don't do anything. I need your 100% attention. Fine. So what I will do, I will create another file. Okay, and I will save it as units.html. Okay, and I will create another file and I will save it as unit style.css. Be my style document for my unit HTML document. Okay, so here as I have told, now I will not repeating what I am doing, you should be knowing what I am doing. Okay, I am just creating the boilerplate code. How do we create it? Just after placing the exclamation symbol, after typing the exclamation symbol, you just press tab and you will get this boilerplate code. Now here, what first thing we have to do, we have to first link the CSS style sheet, right? How do we do that? We use link element. Okay, so we, and then how do we specify the CSS file? With the help of what? With the help, now we set normally three properties. What is that? First is type. What is this type? It is a text CSS. Then what is the relation of this file with this HTML document? It is a, what it is? It is a style sheet, right? So, and what, which is the file that I'm defining the CSS styles in? It is a h given by the href hyperreference. Okay, and what is the name of that file? We have just saved, created it, that is unit style.css. Okay, so this is how I created the link tag. Now my CSS file is associated with this HTML document. This is essential because could be several CSS file and several HTML file for your website or your web application. So which HTML file is using which cascading style sheet document? You have to specify with the help of link. And it is quite possible that you may use more than one. Okay, rather in SAS, which we will be learning in the advanced sessions of this course, the SAS uses multiple CSS files, right? Okay, so let us not go into those issues right now. Okay, now my CSS document is linked. Now let us, what we have understood today is the div tag, right? So we will have the div tag. Okay, now this div tag normally takes, okay, I can see that this is div tag. Okay, I will display. So okay, let me open the browser. I'll just live view I will have. Okay, so you can have this content of the div tag as a text. Okay, you can use div tag as a heading or paragraph, but it is not advisable to use div tag as a paragraph, but definitely you can use div tag as a heading. Normally nowadays in modern days, head tag h1 h2 to h6 are used, but you can do the same task with the help of div tag also. But normally we don't give the text in the div tag. It is not common practice. So here, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm giving this. Okay, fine. Okay, now the next thing that I will do is, in case of the div tag, normally div tag standing alone doesn't solve any purpose. You have to use this div tag with the help of a class or id. Okay, now here we have not yet studied the id and class attribute. So what I will do, I will directly go and create the css rule for the div tag itself. Okay, later on I will show you how it is done using class and or id. So now here, suppose, now be attentive, pay attention over here. I'm showing you something different. Now every time what we do normally, we go to the css file and then we type. Now bracket is very intelligent editor, and it is very handy for the web programmer. Now suppose I want to write the rule, css rule, for this div tag. I don't have to go directly to the css file. In the html file itself I can do it. How to do it? For that, just place the cursor, keyboard cursor. Okay, not mouse cursor. Mouse cursor can move. The keyboard cursor on the tag or the whatever you want the css rule to edit for. Here I have placed my keyboard cursor on the div tag, and I will press control. I will hold the control and press the key E for elephant. Okay, so the moment I press control E, what has happened? The styles.css file, okay, this window will have the styles.css file. Okay, but now I want to associate this with the this unit style.css file. So what I will do, I will close this file. Okay, because it was open, that's why it is showing that. Okay, so there is only one, there are two styles. Okay, so control, still it is taking style.css. Maybe I have to remove them, or rather what we will do, we will create a new folder. Okay, because unless and until we understand what is SAS, we will not be creating any folder structure. Okay, so I will just create another folder, demo, and within that demo I will put all the files. Okay, so this is unit.css and unit style.css. So I will move it over there. Okay, so here I will close all projects and then I will open the folder demo. Okay, so only those two files we will have. Okay, now what I was telling you is, how to open the css formatting or css rules within this uh, brackets, right? So just keep your keyboard cursor on that particular tag and press control E, And now initially I do not have any rule in this CSS style sheet. It is empty. So it will say create a new rule. The moment I press the new rule, see, it has automatically created the rule for you. This is why we use brackets for the web development. So it comes very handy. You don't have to type each and everything. Okay. And you can do this with the help of Emmet also, right? So now we have created this div. Now we will write. Now what I want here is I want to have the background color property be set for this div. So what property we will have? Let's say red. Okay. So see what is happening. Now the div is container. So this, okay, this div have taken the height, okay, which is equal to the height of the text. But normally div can, you can specify the height and other properties, okay, for this div also. So let me have the height. Now I have told you what is normally the height for the div is given with the percentage of the viewport. So we have seen one unit. What is that unit? We have seen VW and VH. So viewport height. Now suppose I want the viewport height of this div element, okay, which is equal to the 50% of the height of the viewport. So if I give height as 50 VH, see what happens. See what has had happened. As you can see, the div has taken the 50% 50% height of the document. See, right? So I have specified only height and it has taken the 50% of the height. Why it has taken? Because I have specified 50 VH. 50 VH means 50% of the viewport height. It is read as like 50 VH means 50% of the viewport height. Now suppose I give the width, okay, also, and width I'm giving is, let's say whatever the 25% of the viewport width. Viewport ची जेवढी width आहे त्याच्यात 25%. And if I do that, okay, you will see it will not work. Why? Because viewport width, okay, width of the parent, okay. Normally the viewport height is the most frequently used because there are a few issues with the uh, VW unit. Okay, it behaves very strangely in case if you are using it, right? So we will go into detail why it is doing so when we study understand the layout and display properties and float and position properties in detail. But right this at this point of time you will not understand why. Sorry, it is Windows, not width. You will not understand why it is working like this. Okay. Okay, so now it is 25 VW. So you will understand, see, 25% of the total viewport. Now the moment I minimize this screen, the viewport, this total viewable area has reduced. So it has automatically taken 25% of the that. Okay, so viewport width is normally behaves quite strangely, right? So normally in case of uh, width, normally we don't use the viewport width, we use it only for the height, right? Normally we use percentage whenever we deal with the width. Okay, we will go into that when to use what, you will understand the more you develop the, okay, and I will tell you time to time which to use when. But at least I guess you have understood what is viewport height and viewport width, right? So this is 25% of this entire screen. So this is the total viewport width and this is the total viewport height. Okay, this white area that you are seeing is what we call as a viewport. At the moment I reduce the screen size, okay, what has happened? Okay, the viewport size has gone decreased. Now suppose I decrease the height also. As you can see, it is automatically decreasing the height of the div element also. So this is what is called as responsive. You may have heard the term responsive website design or responsive web design. And this is the first lesson we have learned as far as responsiveness of the website is concerned. Okay. So depending upon the size of the screen, size of the viewport, okay, these units will change their length. Okay. That's why they are called as relative. Okay. So they are relative to the viewport. So the moment I change the viewport height or width, they also change their length. Okay, that's why we don't have to use absolute. Now you will know why I have told you that don't bother about the absolute length. Okay, we are using only the relative lengths, and out of that only VH, VW, and rem and percentage. These are the only four main length units. Understood? I think you have understood what is VW and what is VH. I will demonstrate what is the rem. Okay, just after in the next assignment, or after some you can say concepts. Okay, rem is a little bit difficult to understand, or rather difficult to get it initially. Okay. Okay, fine. So this is what is div tag. Understood? Normally we don't give anything as a content of the div tag. Normally div tag is a container. So what will happen? The other contents will become the part of the container. So here I can put any tag that I want. So suppose I put h1, okay, heading. So this is heading, right? So you can give right here, and see, as you can see, it is not going outside of the div tag because it is the content contained within the div tag. So it is not going outside, no matter what is the size of the content you can have. If you give more content, it will have the you can say, uh, see, if I give more the contents than the actual size of the div, okay, it will have, it will go outside if it is uh, going below the height. Okay, but it will not happen for the width. Okay, so these kind of behaviors are a little bit weird. Okay, and when you will be programming, why it is happening, so these are the things that you should understand uh, more and more when you become professional web developer. Okay, in the initial phase they are a little bit difficult to understand why it is happening, so you have to understand each and every concept in depth. Okay, but that will happen only when you encounter the problem. Okay, so let us not go into all these scenarios because it will confuse you. Okay, but this is what I was hoping to show you. Okay, so that is div is a container, and you can place any content inside the div. There is no limitation. Obviously, you cannot put HTML and body tag inside the div. Obviously, they are the parent of everything. Okay, so any tag that you can put inside the body tag, you can place inside the div tag. You can have another div tag also. Okay, you can have another div tag inside the div tag. Okay, so we'll be using that for the layout design. I hope you understood. If you have any question, please ask right now because we are demonstrating. Does anyone have any question? VWVH, have you understood? Viewport height, viewport width, and the relative length units, and the concept of div. If you have any question, ask. Yes, anyone? आहात की नाही? रिप्लाय तरी द्या. माझा आवाज येतोय ना?
येस सर, येतोय आवाज. सर,
हा. डू यू हॅव एनी डाऊट? एनीवन? ओके, सो आय थिंक गप्प राहिला याचा अर्थ डाऊट नाहीये. माहित नाही, सवय नाही मला याची. क्लासमध्ये उभारून विचारता येतं, ह्याच्यात कसं विचारणार? फाईन. सो लेट अस मूव अहेड. Fine. Okay. So this REM unit we will study just after few, or I think in the next session I will cover this REM unit and percentage also. Okay, because I will cover them because they can be demonstrated properly in the hands-on only, because I have to write a lot of code to show you how they work. Okay, so that's why I'm avoiding it to teach right. But we will be frequently using them, so there will be no issues understanding them. Okay, fine. So let us move to the next concept. So this is what is CSS unit for length. Okay. So these are the absolute length units. Out of that, pixel is the only one which normally we use, and basically for the font size only. Pixel is the unit which normally in the modern web design shall be or should be used only for the font size. Okay, in for other cases and the border. Okay, most of the time we use rem, and VWVH and percentage are normally used in case of div only. Okay, so rem is important, percentage is important, VWVH is used for layout design. Okay, so we'll study at that particular point also. We'll visit again. Now be attentive again another important, very important concept we are going to study. Okay, be attentive. So let us understand the CSS box model. See, whatever you see on the screen, okay. Now, what is the orientation of the screen, or rather, we can say, what is the dimension of the screen? Screen has only two dimensions: length and height and width. So it is a rectangular, right? Okay, it has only two properties as far as its size is concerned, that is height and width. So that's why what happens is that whenever you put any element uh, inside this viewport, okay, whenever you put any element inside this viewport, it takes the rectangular shape. Normally you will be able to see that rectangle only when you have the background prop color enabled. So let me show you what I am talking about. So let's say I have a h1 tag, right, and there is one heading, right. So here you will not be able to see what is in the live preview, what is the size of this heading tag. But if I give the background property, okay, I will press Ctrl E, and if I will set a new rule. Now here if I give you the background property, background color property, set the background color property of this h1 tag, then you will come to know what I am talking. Okay, the moment I give you this red color, see what has happened. Okay, if you observe the, see, the heading is only this much area, but it has taken this entire rectangular, the entire width of the viewport, and the shape of this element, okay, as you can see, it is rendered as a rectangular, right. You may change the width and height of this rectangle, okay, using various CSS properties, height, width, okay. But in addition to height, width, it also has three more, okay, properties which are called as padding, border, and margin. So this every element, okay, I will repeat again, be attentive. What I'm saying, every element in the HTML, the CSS displays that element on the viewport in a rectangular form. Okay, your viewport or your browser can only render rectangle. It doesn't understand other shape other than rectangle. Okay, so it understands only height. So because that is the screen, you don't have your screen in round shape, right? Normally whatever shapes you are seeing, these are only illusions. Normally the screen can only have rectangular objects over it. Okay, all the other shapes that you are seeing are just illusions, they are just effect of colors. Okay, nothing more than that. Fine. So this rectangle has two properties, or attributes, height and width. But in addition to this height and width, it also has every element, every HTML element also has three more property, and those properties are border, padding, and margin. So this is together is what is called as a box model. Okay, that is what is called as a CSS box model. So the every element when it is displayed on the viewport, okay, occupies a rectangular shape on the viewport, and it has its specific width, it has specific height. These are the two properties every element has. But in addition to that, okay, it also has more properties like padding, border, and margin. Okay, so all this website design, you are only playing with these three properties, that is five properties, that is margin, border, padding, height and width. Okay, these are the only properties. Normally if you master them, then you will be able to place your element in a proper position in on your screen. If you don't understand these five properties and what are their units and how they behave, okay, then you will not be able to place them properly. So it is very basic or really necessary to understand this box model. And in addition to that, there are four more properties that you have to master. That is display property, then a position property, then a float property, and uh, there is another property called as box sizing property. Okay, so we will be learning all this in the next slides. Okay, so that's why I'm saying you, if you don't understand today's lecture, okay, you will not be able to become a web developer, or you will not be able to design the web pages. These concepts are really really essential. So this is CSS box model. So I will just show you how the CSS box model works and how you are I will remove this color. Okay, I will remove this background color. Okay, I will remove this entire CSS. Fine. And I will put some other contents also. Okay. Now here I will maximize this, and to understand this, we have to open the developer tool, Chrome developer tool. Okay. So for that, you just go over these three dots. Okay, open it, go to the more tools, and then developer tool. The shortcut for opening this developer tool is Control plus Shift plus I. Okay, so I will press Control Shift, I will hold the Control Shift and I will press I, and this developer tool opens up. And here you can see below here, okay, here, this is what is the box property, box model, CSS box model. Okay, so suppose I place the cursor over the heading. Okay, you can see how it is working. So the heading is taking some place, but there are certain areas, as you can see with the light brown color. Okay, that is what is called as a margin, right? So this is the actual content. Okay, okay, the padding, this is border and this is margin. So you can see the border and padding properties are missing, but this h1 has some default margin. So this is a default margin. As you can see, there is a square, yellow square, okay, surrounding the heading, the entire content, right? So this is the default margin, right? Okay, so let us understand these properties one by one. So what I will do, I will open the CSS. I will create a new rule in the CSS property, and for this h1 tag, what I will do, I will use this margin property, and I will say margin as 10 pixel. Okay, and I will use padding as 15 pixel, and then I will use border as 5 pixel, right? So now you can see what has happened. The moment I given this, something has appeared. Okay, I will close this label. So earlier it was not there. Okay, it was default. It was taking some default thing, but now it is taking something. So I will just close this so that color will not appear anymore. Okay. So it is invisible. It is invisible. But if I open again the Chrome developer tool, then you will understand what we have done. Now observe the heading tag. Okay, heading letter. So here when the moment I place the in the content, what is showing? It is the showing the entire width. Okay, so here this content, unfortunately, this is because of the display property. So what I will do, I will change the display property and display property of the entire body tag. Okay, I will show you. I will show you what is happening over here. I will discuss the display property later on, but here I will only use border box. Display property as, okay, it is box, I think, sorry, not display property, sizing property, border box. Okay. Now see here, the moment I, okay, place the content, see what is happening. This is the entire content of the width. This is padding, this is border. It is not showing because it is part of the content. But the moment I give the margin, it is 8, right? I will have to, I think, refresh this. Right, so this margin, it is set 8. Okay, but why it is taking 8? Because there was some, what I am doing, you will not understand. Don't bother about this, what I am doing. I am just explaining something to you. Just concentrate on that. Okay, I will say border. Right, so now see, the actual contents, okay, have gone up. Okay, now this is what is padding. Okay, this is what is border. Okay, and then margin. Right, so these three things, if you take any element, has these three properties. What is padding? Padding is the surrounding space of the content. Here now the actual content is heading. Okay, and surrounding the heading, whatever you are getting is called as padding. After the padding comes the border. So this is the border that you are seeing, and after the border comes the margin. Right, so I will better demonstrate this you with the help of a div tag. Right, so instead of body tag, let us sorry, p tag and h tag, let us demonstrate with the help of div tag. Right, so block of code, and in the css file we will have this. And here I will set margin of this div tag as 20 pixel. Okay, padding of this div tag as 40, say 30 pixel, and border, okay, okay, let's say 2 pixel border, let's say 5 pixel border. Border style, we have dotted. Right, okay, I will save it, and now I will show you what is happening. Right, so here you can see, this is a, and I will also place set the background color. Background color is red. Okay, now see, so this is a block, right, and the, if I'm pressing the this cursor, okay, you can see this is a content. Okay, this is a content. Then right? So this is the content which includes up to the border, right? And then this is a margin, whatever you are seeing out surrounding this div. Okay, this is what is margin. Okay, this blue shade that you can see is what is margin. Okay, and then this whatever you are dotted you are seeing is what is border, and inside this block letter and this border is whatever this area you are seeing is what is called as padding, right? So these three properties, so have you got this? So this block letters, whatever the code I have written, characters I have written, this is called as content. The surrounding that whatever the space is occupied is called as a padding. After padding comes the border, and after border comes the margin. Okay, so margin is always outside. So whenever we have two consecutive elements, okay, the distance between two elements is decided by the margin, while the distance between the content and the border is decided by the padding, right? So these concepts are really really important. Okay, just understand what is padding, what is border, and what is margin, how they are used for laying out different positioning different elements on the screen, okay, on the viewport. This is what we will get only after the practice. Okay, but currently only understand this, that there are four things that you have to understand. Whenever there is any element, the element has certain content and it has certain height and width. Then after content we have the padding, which also has certain height and width. After that we have border, which also has certain height and width. And after that we have margin, which also has certain width and height. This is what we have to understand. And also it has left, right, top and bottom. Again the padding is of four types: left padding, right padding, top padding, bottom padding. Border is also left border, right border, top border, bottom border. Margin is also left margin, top margin, right margin, and bottom margin, right? So since it is a box, it has four sides. So also the margin, border, and padding also have four different sides also: left, right, top, and bottom, right? Fine. So I will just display the, I will remove this box sizing, and then you will understand what is happening. Okay. Fine. So this is margin, this is padding, and this is border, and this is the content. Understood? So this is what is the box model. Okay, so every element has these things, and in addition to that it also has width and height, right? So why this is important to understand? Because your web page has several elements which are sitting together, so obviously they will take some space. Whenever few elements are sitting together and they are taking some space, they will push each other in the left, right, top, bottom side, right? So if you want your page to be displayed properly on the different screen sizes, then obviously you should control how they push each other. If you don't control them how they push each other, obviously you will not get the layout proper. Okay, this is what is the basic understanding for this, how this padding, border, margin are used, so that all these HTML elements which resides on a web page takes different layout positions. So let me demonstrate this with the help of an example. Okay. So let me have one, let's say Sinhagad, Solapur. Let's open this page, any page, Sinhagad. Okay. Oh, sorry, Solapur. Sinhagad, Solapur. This is our website. Close. Now I will open web developer tool, Chrome developer tool by shift control I. Right. Now here you can see the box model. See, everything has certain height, width. See, you can see these are boxes. See, this is a different HTML element. How it is placed over here, how it is behaving with the other elements. This is another element. This is another element. So, what is the distance between these two? What is the distance between these two? So, this is what is decided by the padding and margin, right? So, for example, here this one is now these are the two elements. This name string and this symbol. So they are at the certain distance in between them. So this is how it is decided after margin by the margin, right? So how this different entities, okay, when they um, when they are placed on the web page, how they behave, how they push each other, okay, is what is decides your layout, right? And that's why the box model, CSS box model, is very essential to understand it, right? So see how they are having certain margins, they are having certain padding, okay, so like this, right? So here this line, okay, how you decide the distance between this line and this institute circular area, how you decide that? Okay, this is what is decided by the margin and padding. Understood? How you decide the distance between these two? Okay, right? So this is how you decide, and this is how you normally place them together. Okay, so there are quite a lot entities elements which are placed over here in this page. Okay, there are at least hundreds of entities elements available on this page. So when you code them, okay, obviously you have to place them properly. Okay, right? Fine. Most of the time, you will be using certain RAD tool, rapid application development tool, such as Dreamweaver or something like that, or Elementor, okay, which helps you to drag and drop the different elements. But only drag and drop will not give, or a website such as Wix, okay, you may be knowing this website, wix.com, where you can design your own website just simply by dragging and dropping. But dragging and dropping, you will be limited because you cannot change the code that you want or look and feel that you want. You have to satisfy whatever they give you. Okay, but if you want to customize your website, then obviously you have to uh, keep your hands dirty and go and modify the HTML and CSS. And it will be quite difficult because, okay, modifying the code which is given by the framework is quite difficult, right? Certain little bit here and there modification you can do, but modifying entirely is difficult. So, and that's why uh, normally nowadays also 80% or 90% of the websites are coded with hands-on, okay, using this editor and HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Okay, they are not coded with the RAD tools, right? So you must know what are the properties which you are dealing with. Okay, तो तुमच्यापैकी बऱ्याच जणांना असं वाटत असेल की सर ते विक्स सारखे टूल आहे की मग कशाला आम्हाला वेबसाईट डिझाईन शिकायची गरज आहे. तसं नाहीये. 90% of the time you have to work with the HTML and CSS only. Fine. Okay, so this is what is the CSS box model. Okay, now in the hands-on sessions you will get to know what we are talking about, but here just understand there are some contents. Around the content you have the padding, around the padding you have a border, and around the border you have a margin, and each three of them have certain length. Here padding has the length 16 pixel, the border has the length 8 pixel, okay, and the margin has the length 16 pixel. So depending upon that, your element will push other elements around him, right? Around it, sorry. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is box model. Okay. Okay, one more thing I will just demonstrate. Okay, now sir, what if I want to uh, display this red color rectangle in a circular fashion? So for that you have to only change the border radius, borders. Okay, border radius. Okay, if I take it as 20 pixel, see what happens. Okay, I give 1000 pixel, that means it is very high. See what happens. Okay, it has become total circular, and if I want to have it, okay, as a circle, then I have to change its width and height. Normally only width will sufficient because height is taken automatically most of the time. Okay, width will be, let's say if I give it 50 pixel. Okay, now it should be less than that, let's say 40 pixel. Okay, so like this, obviously it will not be less than that because I have placed certain text in it, so I have to remove that text. Okay, if I do that, then okay, so never mind. So this is I will show you how it is done. Okay, because since there are other properties also which play the part, but here I will get confused. Okay, so I will not demonstrate, but this is how you different shapes other than rectangle normally we achieve with the help of border radius. Normally only four shapes, three shapes are possible in the CSS, and these are rectangle, square, and circle. Okay, other shapes are achieved with the help of images or icons, right? These are not possible. You have to use the graphics rendered images or icons, svg files, for other shapes. Okay, through the html, these are the only three shapes you can achieve. Obviously line is also there, but I'm talking about two dimensions shapes. So now uh, box sizing, this is another important property that we have to consider. Now what is box sizing? Okay, box sizing means whatever this CSS box model we have studied. Okay, this one. Now, whenever you specify the height and width, okay, if you do not specify the box sizing property, by default it is content width. Right? For example, I will show you what is box sizing property. Okay, this box sizing property, you can have either border box or content box. What is the difference between content? By default it is content box. By default it is content box. Now when it is content box, whenever you specify height and width, if you specify it as a content box, then width and height also includes the padding, border, and margin. It also includes padding, border, and margin. So sometimes it becomes very difficult if you work with the content boxing. So most of the time what we do, we work with the border box. So border box means the height and width that you specify for the element will include border and padding, and sorry, padding and border only. It will not include the margin. Okay, so this is most of the time we use this border box only. Okay, so this is what is the box sizing property. Okay, so the size of the box, okay, excludes the margin if it is border box, while the size of the box includes margin if it is a content box. Okay, at this point of time, content boxing is by default, and normally it gives certain issues. Okay, so normally we use border box because we manually can set the margins the way we want. Okay, so most of the time, 99% of the time, you will be using box sizing border box. Okay, and normally this box sizing is specified in the root, this universal selector. Now I haven't shown you what this star means. I will cover this later. Okay, don't bother. But this is okay, let me tell you. Now this star means all. Okay, in computer science domain, star means all. That means you are setting this rule for all the elements on the document. So it will get applied to the all the elements to the document. So what you are doing, normally you use this for resetting the default margin padding and box sizing. Okay, so this is the or whenever I'm doing any project, this is the first 4 lines that I write. Okay, I reset the margin paddings to 0, and I will reset the box sizing to border box, so that manually I can give the margin and paddings and the positioning. Okay, so it behaves properly, right? Fine. So this is what is the box sizing property. Now, every element on the web page is a rectangular box. This is what we have seen. The display property of the CSS determines just how that rectangular box behaves. Okay, so we have seen the box model property. We have also seen the box sizing property. Now, let us understand what is display property. This is also very, very important as far as layout is concerned. Okay, this display property decides the layout. Okay, so it is very important. So there are only handful of values that are commonly used. Actually, there are more than 12 uh, display value property values. Okay, but out of that, these are the only four normally we use. Not four, there are six basically: inline block, inline block, none, and flex and grid. These are the flex and grid we will cover in later sessions, because those are advanced concepts and these are quite new. They have introduced in since last 3 years, I guess. CSS Flex was earlier, but grid has now newly introduced 3 years back. So we will cover that later on. Let us not bother. But currently we will be only bothering about these four properties. Later on we will see what is flex and what is grid layout. Okay. So remember, what is display? What display property does? Display property helps you to lay out your elements. Okay, display property helps you or guides you to lay out your elements. Okay, so there are four types of display property values: inline block, and none. Okay, so what is inline property? Inline means default of all elements unless style sheet overrides. Normally, it is not default to all elements. There are certain elements which are by default inline, and there are certain elements which are by default block. Okay, so let me put it this way, right? So let us have this. Let me have this paragraph, or rather heading. I will use heading because it will take its size. H1, heading 1. I will use another heading H1, same one, but this is heading. Right. Okay. So I will save it and let us see how it is displayed. Okay. As you can see, how it is displayed one after the other. Okay. But by default, it occupies the entire width. Okay. If you see the if you set the background property of this, okay, if you set the background property of this, okay, H1 background color, let's say red. Okay, and we will also have the border of 2 pixel. And if we see, Okay. Fine. So as you can see, what is happening? So this heading H1 and this H1 tag, both these H1 tag have taken the entire width of the viewport. And since they have taken the entire width, they are one after the other. They are one below the other, right? So H1 is heading 1 is above and heading 2 is taken the below. So this is by default. Why this is by default? Because the display property for this is block by default. So if I say display property block, nothing will change because this is what is by default. But the moment I do it inline, what happens? The moment I have given the display property as inline, what has happened? They are in line. In line. The name itself suggests in line. That means all the elements are laying themselves in the line. So they will follow the same horizontal line. Okay, depending upon their height and width, but they will follow the same horizontal line as far as they are rendered, right? So that's why they are coming side by side. Now, what is the problem with the inline is that when the moment you have this property inline, what happens is that you cannot set the width height properties, okay, and margin and padding properties when it is an inline, okay, or rather margin properties. Okay, normally the width and height you cannot set these properties. Okay, so inline element, okay, it is very difficult to set their width and height because they are inline. They will follow. Even if you set them, it will not be used. Okay, height. It behaves quite differently, right? So this is what is inline. Now, if we want to have this to satisfy that, it also takes width and height property. So normally what we do, we take the advantages of both and we define them as inline block. So in this case, I can now have the width and height for this two elements. Okay, so this is what is the difference. Okay, so by default, it is always, if you don't specify, it is always block. If you specify, you can have them in line where they will appear side by side. Okay, so obviously both of these properties have their usage. Whenever you want the element to be placed side by side in the layout, obviously you will use inline, and whenever you want to place the whatever the elements you have one after the other, you will use block. Okay, but the problem with the block is that it takes the entire width of the viewport. Normally after the introduction of the flex layout and the grid layout, normally this display property, we don't use block or block. Normally we use grid and flex only, but that we will study later on. Okay, just understand that display property is very important as far as layout is concerned. See, if I remove that, by default it is a block. Now suppose another value it can take is display none. Okay, if you say display none, what will happen? It will be, it will not be displayed on the viewport. Okay, display none, that means it will not be displayed. Okay, so normally this displayed none, if we want to hide the certain elements, okay, with the help of code, normally we write certain code in JavaScript and we hide the element. They are actually present in the web page, but they do not have some visibility. Okay, and they also do not take the space in the viewport. Okay, but they do present, and normally certain malicious websites, okay, normally use such kind of element to uh, take the, like, they use such kind of elements to some do some malicious activity, but let us not go into those things. Okay, it is out of the scope, right? So display none, if you do this, okay, that element will not take any space in the viewport, but it is actually present in the DOM, document object model. It is there. Okay, so programmatically you can code it for certain event, okay, and then execute the code in the background and do something. Okay, so normally this such kind of things are used for extracting your information. Okay, So we were unaware that, but certain things happens in the background. Okay, but never mind. Let us not discuss that part. Okay, fine. Right. So these are the display properties. So I think today we have learned too many things. Okay, but this is essential. Last two things remaining. We will cover that also. Okay, but actually the class selector and ID selector. Okay. So now, what is the problem with the element selector? Now here, this is the element selector. Now what is the problem here? Now if I have, okay, let's say several headings. Now what is the problem? And I want each heading to be of different color. How do I do that? If I want each heading to be of different color, how do I do that? Okay, so for that, obviously, what I have to do, I have to color them individually. But how do I color them individually? Just by applying a class or ID, okay, in the beginning tag of that header element. Okay, so this is how we do it. So if I want to color this h1 tag element in the green color, then what I will do, I will apply a class. Because here, if I see in the CSS file, if I here change the background color to green, what will happen? It will get applied to the all the header elements, heading elements, right? But I want to be applied only to the heading one only. So how do I do that? So for that, what we do, we in the HTML document, we specify the class property. Okay, class CSS property for that particular tag. So the syntax goes like this: class, okay, and equality symbol, and in the double quotes you specify some string. This is the name of the class. Okay, and then what you do, you go to the CSS and create a rule for this class. So how what is the syntax to specify the class? Now here, when you use the element selector, you write down the name of the element. But if you are styling that element with the help of a class, then the syntax goes like a dot symbol followed by the name of the class, and the rest of the things remains the same. Okay, so the in element selector you write down the name of the element over here, but in the case of class selector you have dot symbol and then the name of the class. So here green is the name of the class, so dot symbol, okay, and then name of the class green. So whatever I will choose over here, whatever CSS property I will change over here, will be applied only to those HTML elements which have this class as green. Okay, so here I will make it as red. See, automatically it has become red. Right. So similarly, if I apply another, suppose I write another class, uh, let's say orange. Okay, so obviously if I forget the dot symbol, it will not get applied. So I will first write down the, okay, background color orange, right? So here orange is the color I have written, but have I applied any class to it? Just a minute, please. So have I applied this class? No. So here what I will do is, let's say I want to apply this class to this. So how do I do it? I will just specify orange class. The moment I do that, see what happened, that class was applied and that rule specific to that class has been applied over the element, right? So this is what is useful. So this is class. एकच मिनिट सर सर हे रेकॉर्डिंग मध्ये आवाज येतोय प्लीज. Right, so this is class. Fine. Okay, now ID is also similar to the class. Now what is class? Suppose I apply this, I can apply the class to many multiple elements. It is not only that I have to apply it for the heading also. I have defined the class. I can apply the class for the paragraph also, same class. Okay, let's say orange. Okay, and then If I write something, see, automatically that class got applied to what that paragraph because I have defined that paragraph with the class CSS, this particular class. Understood? So this comes very handy. Okay. Now here the class can be shared among the various elements. ID is unique. Okay. So if I define here the ID, okay, I cannot use it anywhere else. So let's say id is also used. Okay, so here this is id blue, let's say this is the class. Now if I apply this and if I define this rule, how do I define the rule? The syntax goes like, instead of dot you have to use hash and the name of the id. Okay, hash name of the id, and the rest of the time, एक minute sir, please sir, recording मध्ये या. Right, so this is how we, sorry, this is how we do it. So see, apply, this has been applied to that particular heading 5. Now can I use this id to the other elements? Let's suppose instead of this class orange, if I apply this id over here, okay, it is applied. But can I use this id to the another heading, let's say this heading? I can apply, but okay, normally ID should be unique, right? So most of the time, IDs are used for the programmatically accessing the HTML element. So unless and until we are dealing with the JavaScript and generating the code and modifying the behavior with the help of JavaScript code, okay, normally we don't use the ID. Okay, when we learn the jQuery, then we will use the id, and most of the time, even if it is a only one element, we will define the class. And another thing is that when we use the class, okay, it becomes very easy for us to design this using emmet. For example, suppose I want the uh, let's say I want to create a div element. So how do I do that? And I want to specify the class also. So in the using emmet, the shortcut is like this. I press the dot, and then what is the name, class name I want to give? Let's say this is, let's say, title class. Okay, and then I press tab. See what has happened? Automatically emmet has created a div element with the class title, right? So normally this is the common practice when since in the case of layout design, we normally first work with the div, we create the layout, and later on within that layout we place the different elements. Okay, so this comes very handy to create the different layout. Okay, so here I will again another, I will say content class, press tab, so it will create a content div, and then here I will create explanation, anything. So I will, okay, I will create these divs, and in within this div I will put some certain elements, right? Okay, and I will apply the css rule just using the control e, and I will directly write down the rule, and that will be applied. Okay, that will be applied for the, so here if I say background color, okay, then you will get that background color, and width height, height is, let's say, 20 ph, right? Something like this, right? So this will get displayed. Now here it will not work, link has broken. Okay, it doesn't work like this. Okay, there are other properties also you have to set, but this is what I was hoping to demonstrate you. Okay, so understood what is class and what is id. Okay, rest of the things, now throughout this next sessions we will be using this extensively, classes and ids, not ids, rather ids we will visit again in case of javascript jQuery, but mostly we will be using class to style our div, not style our any other elements. Okay, so if you observe, now let me show you several, you can say, so this is Now, this is one framework which is designed by the Twitter. Okay, all of you must be knowing the Twitter. So this is a CSS framework, Bootstrap. Okay, so this CSS framework has different tags. Okay, and you can see the classes are applied. Okay, whenever you apply the different, right? So here you can see this is a class. So they have ready-made classes, but the problem here is that you have to remember all those classes, and obviously they have their default behavior. But the course that we are doing, you will be taught how to write down your own framework like this Bootstrap. Okay, I don't use this Bootstrap because Flex and Grid layout. Okay, these are quite useful, and I normally even though it takes time, 20% more effort, but designing everything from the scratch gives you the liberty to have a creativity, because if you use any framework you will be bounded by the boundaries of that framework. Okay, you can't go beyond that because you are using already the designing which has been designed by other programmers. But if you write everything from scratch, it will be your design and you can change whatever you want. Obviously sometimes you will be using this, but ultimately you should know what is HTML and CSS in depth. Unless and until you have that knowledge also, you cannot use this framework also. Okay, so to learn these frameworks also, you need to understand CSS in depth. Okay, so understanding CSS in depth is essential. So when you become master of CSS, you can use any CSS framework such as Bootstrap, okay, in your code. The most of the time, you will be most of the programmer either use Ionic, okay. So Ionic and Bootstrap, these are the famous CSS or HTML framework, okay, that you have. So I advise you, or I expect that you go over the internet and study Ionic as well as Bootstrap framework when the time permits. When you have a spare time, definitely go and check Bootstrap framework and Ionic framework. Okay, you will come to know. But ultimately, we have to learn HTML and CSS in depth. Then only you will be able to use those framework. Correct? Right. So I think we have come near the end of this session. We have covered what is class selector and ID selector in CSS. Right. So this slide I will share. So we will go through this. Okay, don't bother about class and IDs. We will be using them throughout, so you know it. Okay, only thing is that you have to remember is that these are CSS selectors. Okay, you can select the element either using classes or either using ID. Okay, just like this. And these classes and IDs are defined inside the opening tag of the HTML element. So here H1 is the HTML element, and within this opening tag, you have defined this ID. Okay, within this opening tag of the header H1, you have defined this class. And then whatever style you apply for this class inside the CSS document, that particular CSS property will get applied over this H1 element and any other element which has this class applied to. Okay, so we will have various next all sessions we will be using this, so you will become very much familiar with this, how it behaves. No issues about that. Okay, so we use the class a lot. It has a very low specificity, and IDs are used only once, and they have the highest specificity. So whenever the difference is required to tell, I will tell you here to use ID and Y, and here to use class and Y. In 90% of the time we will be using classes. Several cases we have to use ID, and why, what is the reason behind using the ID, I will tell at that point, because right now you will not understand. It will be understood only by the example. So whenever it requires, I will explain why it is required ID, not class. But here only sufficient thing that you should be comfortable with the concept of using class in the CSS document, right? So position property and float property we will discuss in the next section in the hands-on, right? Because that needs a demonstration. So deliberately I have kept it empty. We will stop here, but it will take half an hour. So I have other work. So we'll stop here. Hands-on session, I will explain position and float property. Okay. So this completes the session, and we have seen very important concept. Okay, so I have recorded this session, I will edit it and I will put it on the YouTube. Those who have come late and have not understood some part, they can go again and see the entire session. Okay, and then you will get the concept. Okay, and it is very essential that next hands-on session I assume that you got this concept very well, and I will not be explaining why it is this, why it is that. I will be only using them, so you should be able to know why I have used that. Okay, right? Initially I will tell, but in the latter sessions I will not, I will restrain myself not telling each and everything. I will assume that you know why I have used that, right? Because it is already covered. Fine. So if you have any question or doubts, please ask right now.